On Primetime Asia tonight, Aung San Suu Kyi lays out her concerns and calls for national commitment in Myanmar in her first major speech on the international stage in nearly 25 years. Also tonight, a debate on a controversial reconciliation bill in Thailand postponed indefinitely after protesters surround the parliament compound. Hong Kong Chief Executive Donald Tsang says sorry once again for his handling of his travel policies and for taking rides on private jets and yachts.
And I'm Timothy Go at the Asia Security Summit. On the agenda tonight, the U.S. rebalance towards Asia-Pacific, China, and regional stability, and the threat of cyber warfare.
So let's get the latest from Timothy Go, who's standing by at Shangrila Hotel right now. Tim?
Glenda, we are, of course, keenly waiting for the keynote address from the Indonesian President, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, tonight at 8 o'clock. As you mentioned, very important this year because of the changing power dynamics in the region here in the Asia-Pacific. And joining me tonight is the Indonesian Foreign Minister, Mr. Martin Natalegawa, a very familiar face to all of us in Primetime Asia. So, Minister, you were at the World Economic Forum yesterday. Aung San Suu Kyi stealing the limelight there. What does this whole higher profile mean for Myanmar and for the region, for ASEAN?
Well, I think what we have been witnessing over the past few days in Bangkok, the World Economic Forum, symbolizes in a very succinct and yet profound way the change that is taking place in our region, whether it be at the national level, the kind of political transformation that Myanmar is going through, that makes it possible for someone like Aung San Suu Kyi now to speak at a forum such as the World Economic Forum, but also change in terms of interstate relations. And what we believe in Indonesia is that we must embrace change. Indeed, we must also encourage change for the better, and not try to resist them. And thus we have international, regional architecture that is peaceful, stable, and benign as well.
Does this change the perception of the world community with regards to ASEAN as a region?
Well, absolutely. As you are aware, the question of Myanmar has for many years now been quite a burden for ASEAN. But we also, persevere in pursuing, encouraging, and even sometimes prodding Myanmar to pursue change. And that has come about over the past 1 year. And principally, it has been an internally driven process. But I think ASEAN has been instrumental in creating climate conducive for such change to take place. And now we are seeing, as you are aware, the international community rallying around the process of change in Myanmar. So this has been a very positive development, but we must not be complacent. We must continue to pursue the agenda of encouraging democratic reform and transformation in our parts of the world.
All right, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, the President, will be here any moment now to deliver his first keynote address at the Asia Security Summit. What sort of security issues will he be bringing up on the table tonight?
Well, I think he would speak substantially on the issue of regionalism. Looking to the past in terms of how far we have traveled, ASEAN. Now we have an ASEAN 10. It's often forgotten that this has not been always the case. But now we have, even though ASEAN community formally will only be achieved in 2015, the sense of community, I think, is pretty much advanced among ASEAN countries. Now we would like to have a similar sense of community beyond ASEAN, to Asia Pacific, to the East Asia region. So the President will speak at length about the need to promote a win-win perspective, a paradigm, how the rise of countries must not be seen as being a problem, instead part of the strengthening of the region's architecture.
All right, interesting you brought that up because the territorial dispute around the South China Sea will be a hot topic here at the Asia Security Summit. What is Indonesia's position on that? What is ASEAN's approach in dealing with that problem?
Well, we certainly always felt consistently that this is an issue that must be resolved by peaceful means. It's about diplomacy, not the use of force. It's about compliance to international law, compliance with the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. As you know, over the past 1 year, we have made a great deal of progress in terms of the guidelines on the declaration of conduct in the South China Sea. We are now pursuing the identification of the code of conduct itself. But meanwhile, of course, the situation at sea can be quite vulnerable, and so Indonesia is doing its best to ensure that the tensions does not develop into outright conflict. And we are communicating with all the parties concerned to ensure that diplomacy always remains at the forefront.
All right, thank you very much, Minister. Minister Martin Natalegawa there, the Indonesian Foreign Minister, joining us live here at the Asia Security Summit. Glenda, we will be monitoring the keynote speech of the Indonesian president coming up any moment now. Back to you.
All right, many thanks there, Tim. Well, the opening reception is underway for the 11th Annual Asia-Pacific Security Summit, also known as the Shangrila Dialogue, and Indonesian President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono will soon deliver the keynote address. He's among the 351 delegates, world leaders, defense ministers and senior officials gathered here for the annual event. And let's get the latest from Timothy Go, who's standing by at the Shangri-La Hotel. Tim?
Glenda, you're right. The Indonesian president will be speaking any moment now at about 8 o'clock tonight, Singapore time. Beijing, of course, as you reported earlier, is asking the United States to respect the interests of China in the South China Sea dispute. And then we've uncovered reports from local Chinese media saying that with the participation in this event of the U.S. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, it sort of messes up the South China Sea territorial dispute. A pro-Beijing Hong Kong newspaper called the Wenwei Po says this meeting, in its words, and I quote here, sets the stage for a U.S.-China brawl. China's defense minister is absent at this Asia Security Summit. Instead, China sent a delegation of military science academics representing its interests here at the summit. We also spoke earlier with the Philippine Secretary of National Defense, who refused to make a statement to us tonight, saying that he will be delivering a policy speech tomorrow on the West China Sea territorial dispute. Of course, the Philippine media calls this the West Philippine Sea dispute. So we'll have to stick around tomorrow and find out what that will be about. A very busy weekend here at the Asia Security Summit. Glenda, back to you.
All right, many thanks there, Tim. And once again, Channel News Asia will bring you all the latest updates from the Shangri-La Dialogue.